Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Transfer Market Metrics for Anfield Index. It's currently one of those that the sun is shining where I am, which is absolutely great. It's not shining as nice as Bart's and where he is at the moment, but there's a bit of a cloud on the horizon, isn't there? Because Trent Alexander-Arnold and the latest news, we could easily focus in on that, people, but we're not going to. We are going to talk about potential incomings, players that we linked with. And if you've watched Transfer Market Metrics before, break them down through analysis one by one. But I will just check he's okay because he's got the sun, but it's a bit warmer than him or than us, I should say. But go on, make us jealous. What are we talking?
27 at the moment. Apologies.
27. I thought we were quite nice here in Edinburgh because we got about 14, 15, and even the sun is glaring in with the blinds down, but it doesn't even touch 27. And speaking of these players, could they touch Liverpool's starting lineup? Could they be players that we are seriously looking at? So we go to the Bundesliga first tonight, people. And if you've seen our Bundesliga shows, all three are in that league, so we can get physical data on all of them, which is absolutely brilliant. However, does that mean they're Liverpool quality? It does not mean that necessarily. So let's get into it, Bart. And the first place we'll go to, a young midfielder that's drawing a lot of glances in Europe, and apparently ours, from what we've been told, Hugo Larsson, Swedish international midfielder, 20 years old, Eintracht Frankfurt, looked at apparently by Arsenal and a few other European clubs. We'll come to price tag as we do normally later, Bart. But on the surface, this is an intriguing one for me because 6 goals and an assist, so 7 goal contributions. Suggestions that he plays most of his game as an 8 in the central midfield, but has played half a dozen games for Frankfurt as a 6. So he could be one of those multifunctional midfielders that we talked about. But Hugo Larsson, 20 years old, let's run the numbers and see the potential.
So I think we always kind of start with looking at can he do the minutes that are asked, right? And this time I've made sure that it's actually down by the season he's played. All right. Those who watch Water will see a little bit, but anyway. He's in and around for 2022, 1200, 2023, 1000, 23, 24, 1800 is his high. This season, he's just short of 1800, and I think I played 36. So he's probably going to top out 2000 minutes, right? So nice. He's got a load, but it's not the load that Liverpool midfielders do. Largely, I would suspect Frankfurt have played in the Europa League. Yeah, for sure. So it's a little bit there, but he's got what match starts 25-9. So he started a lot of games. He might be started, he might not be, depending on what the tactics are. So he has potential to do the load that we need a midfielder to do, but he's not quite there at the moment. All right. So where do we always look? Well, we always look at this bottom box first of all, which is the defensive metrics. He's a midfielder, so it's not imperative that he's doing clearances because you're not a last line, but still 42nd percentile is lower than you'd expect. Yeah. Aerials, that is a problem if he's going to play the 6, not so much if he's going to play an 8, but 32nd percentile is low if he's an offensive player for us. And I will just go and give you the exact average he's at. He's at 45% for this season. So, okay, but that has improved from 32 last year. So there is a bit of an improvement there, which, it's, as I said, if he's a sole 6, that would be a problem. If he's a mixed player, then we can probably allow for a little bit off that. Blocks and interceptions, so does he do the passing lanes? Does he block those? Does he nip in front, nip the ball? He's in the 87th and 70th percentile, so that's good. That's a good part of his game. He's avoiding the tackle, which is sometimes when he's misjudged something, he's got to make a tackle, make an action. So those elements of his defensive metrics are good. 86 percentile for blocks is really good. Okay. Now, what does he do in between the boxes? So, progressive passes received, 47 percentile. So that suggests to me he's receiving the ball low, not very close to goals. Remember, a progressive pass, you have to move the ball between 20 and 25 yards closer, or 20 to 25% closer to goal, right? And in the middle, the middle and attacking third. So if you're not in one of those, or you're not high, then it's very difficult to receive a progressive pass. Equally, if you're not very high, you're not going to get a ball in the attacking penalty area. So he's in 42nd percentile. Suggests to me he doesn't do a lot of that third man running stuff that our does, and even Max to a degree, but not high amounts. Take-ons and carries, that is not his game. All right. So if he was playing the 6, the grab, turn and go, the grab, dribble past the player, that kind of thing. This guy is not doing that. All right. What this guy is doing is passing the ball progressively, 60 percentile. Okay. Would be nice if that was a bit higher for someone playing deeper, but because he's got the full range of those 2/3 to hit that passing. But okay. 78th percentile for passing completion, and that's 87% on average, which is bang in there. That's a standard that we expect our Liverpool midfield to be hitting. Volume-wise is 60th percentile. So again, some of that could be because they're not the most dominant team, so they don't have a lot of passes, but that's still volume that you would hope, given the ball, he would still maintain his pass completion accuracy, right? So that's important. What's he doing in the box when he does get in there? So he's got 93rd percentile for non-penalty goals, which is pretty good considering he doesn't actually get in the box that much. Shot creating actions, 2.36, which is 58th percentile. So he doesn't create a lot of goals. And shots, he's less than a shot a game. So there are some elements there where you think, okay, yes, this is pleasing. He looks the profile more of a 6/8 rather than an 8/6. That might sound weird. I'm not just mixing numbers up, but I would suggest his dominance is the 6 part rather than the 8 part. Now, you're going to ask me to compare him with some of our players, I would imagine. So if we do Ryan's in the red. Larsson is in the blue. Ryan is better early. He's better at tackling dribble at him. He also receives more progressive passes. That's because he does go on a bit of a wander now and again. Touches are about the same. Take-ons and carries, that is Ryan's game, right? Absolutely understandable. He's going to be up there. In terms of passes, though, fairly similar. I mean, that's like half of a percentile bracket, so that's okay. Shot creative actions and XG, though, Larsson does better. And non-penalty goals he does better as well. And blocks, Larsson does better. So, but it's fair to say that's Grab is probably better at some elements. If you're comparing to Mac, who is our kind of in situ 6/8, that profile is very similar. Yeah, as in like the peaks are in the right place and the troughs are in the same place. It's just Mac's a bit more volume further on. So that suggests to me that this player is profiled in the Mac role, not necessarily in the Grab role, but there's still elements he's not as good at. So clearances is better. Sorry, he's not as good as assists. He's not as good as non-penalty XG compared to Mac. So a lot of the attacking metrics, Mac vastly superior to Larsson. So seems like a young player who's developing. Spent a bit of time with the 6, so it's got not a lot of attacking game to him. But if we look at some of the stuff that I'll run on him, he's in and around the box area. So if we look at touches and passes, he's making 1 every other minute, which is okay. You would expect that to be a little bit higher if he's at the base of the midfield, but again. Frankfurt might not. This is a European game, and away from home, so it might be slightly unfair to jump too much from that. Passing chain length, he's not involved in the recycling, so normally we would expect that 6 centre halves to just help tip that ball. That isn't the case in this game. He's in the low percentile, the lower passing chain. Sorry. What is pleasing, he has made some passes into the zone 14 and into the half spaces. So that's that. When he does make that aggressive pass, he goes into the right areas. He doesn't receive them, but he makes them. Off ball, where is he listed on here? Got him somewhere. Here you go. Stops 100% a threat coming at him. That's a good start. Doesn't create a lot, as you can see, all down the middle strips there. In this game, they didn't create anything. It's mainly the wide players that did, so we're not draw too much on that. Defensively, not a lot. Okay, so that's really low defensive actions. Why it's got none, because it's not on there. And XG production, he actually scored in this game, which is quite amazing. So 0.01 XG, but there wasn't really involved in anything else to do likewise. So yeah, I think it's fair to say there are some good elements. He might have a bit. As I said, that 6-4 going forward. Physical though, as you asked me to look at him. If I can just find it, there he is.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
So speed 34. He's not slow. He's quick. Yeah. Anything at 32 is quick. Distance 244. So considering he's made, what did they say? He started 27 games in the Bundesliga. What is that this season? Just to double check. So he's made 25 starts in the Bundesliga. So, and he's only clocked up 244k. That's quite low.
Yeah, less than 10.
That's not moving a lot. You know what I mean? That's sort of it's not intensive runs. Just over 1,600 on any 1,700. So there's something there. So he does a lot of the high intensity stuff. Maybe quite disciplined in where he plays in terms of that shield in front. So yeah, some things to like. I haven't got his height though. What was his height?
Yeah, that's right. We talked about size. Yeah,
I haven't got his height on him, which was a bit of a worry. So yeah. So yeah, HD profile, one that is, I think it's unfair to compare him to Mac if you're going to call him a half and half, because Mac dominates the attacking metrics, but a very similar shape. Grab does better attacking wise as well, but defensively outshines him as well. So he's a developing player, a youngster, but has some good physical attributes. Maybe the quickness, but lower than our normal amount we'd expect a midfield to cover in terms of case. So yeah. Interesting player, interesting profile. I'm not sure the price is like.
This is where it will be quite interesting. And looking at the Bundesliga, because they list his height at 1.87 m. So he's literally the same height as Joe Gomez, for those ideas, who's what, 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
So he's not small in that regard
it's
at all. The thing is with Larsson, and if you look at the reviews and what we've been told, there's a lot to like, as you said, very tidy on the ball, solid passer, as he's predicted. And there is a bit of green there, as you said, especially those blocks, 86 percentile, and the passing completion, bang on what we look for with our midfielders. 20 years old, as you said, almost like, it looks like, for those who can't see it, on FB Ref, if you took Mac's profile and put it in an air fryer to dehydrate it, you'd get Larsson, so to speak. That's probably the way to describe it. Everything reduced in that regard. Here's the thing with this, Bart. There's clear potential there. I don't think anyone would doubt that at all. There's a lot of interest in this player. Arsenal have been linked with Hugo Larsson as well. Frankfurt, as we know, were good sellers, and they've sold recently with Mwani the summer before. Marmouche, they just got a huge wedge for. You're dealing with Croatia, who, as we know, is a good seller and difficult. The indications are, from various articles and different bits, that all that intertwined. And he signed a deal, annoyingly, if we do like him, in October 2024, which pushes the price suggested around 60 million they'd be looking for him. Is that just because of all those elements too rich for your blood as a metric, really?
Given that you've got to convert Bundesliga, Premier League as well. I think it's about 0.85. You got to decrease that by. Yeah, that's in that kind of. They will have access to data we haven't got. And we always say that, right? The in-house department, we've got far superior data. So that is in around the area you could take a calculated risk. The profile is there. He does have some of the physical elements. He's not quite at the level in terms of minutes that we would require for a Liverpool midfielder. He's 20. His height isn't that, not bad, but his aerial ability is 41%, 45 or 30. He's improving. So there are some things to like. But 60 million. Then again, in this market, I don't know. I mean, that was super. Mendy last time, wasn't it? 60 million.
Yeah, 50. I think 52 million is the release clause. I think it just seems very, very difficult to envisage Liverpool paying absolute top dollar for that midfielder who's not going to come straight in, just on the basis that, and I know the market can be skewed, but 35 million for Mac was that, 30 odd million for Gravenberch. Even Szoboszlai was the 70 million euro release clause, which translates to 60 million. It just seems really difficult to see them paying that for a kid that's not going to be a starter and an alternate, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the other thing for me is we've said it before. If you're going to spend north of 60 million, they've really got to be a first teamer, because then you improve the squad, because you're not the first teamer who was in there down to the bench, right? And you get competition. It's like the same thing. We will come back to it, but you've got to buy back up to Canate. No, you buy another centre half, and then Canate. Do you know what I mean? It's just there are more than one way, but one costs you a lot of money, but you get the quality you need. I think for that price, I don't think he's going to start just yet. But he might be another one. It's like we've done Hato, right? And he's going to cost a bit of money, but he might be a young prospect that goes on to become Jimmy Capo. So,
it's tough. It's one of those people. It's struggling to see them forking out for Larsson, but we'd understand it if in a year's time they were looking back and thinking, should have done that for the money, but we'll have to see maybe what next year brings. So we'll file that under a maybe, but unlikely. The next one, Bart, this is a name a lot of people have asked about before we even got him in our radar, and people like Angelo Stiller. Left-footed, German international now as well, so playing for their team, done okay in the Champions League. Really build from, and I've only seen this kid once, so I can't pretend we don't pretend to be scouts and watch this regularly. But on the ball, especially, the analysts and all the bits we're getting are huge fans of this kid. There's a release clause to talk about as well, and God knows we love release clauses. So I'm intrigued what the stats say around Angelo Stiller.
I think he's a good. It's listed as 183. Okay, so that's in centimeters. I'll just convert that way. We'll convert that. We're talking a lot about German. Pretty good pedigree. Listed as a CDM DM left-footed.
Yeah,
always good to have a left-footed option. I have to say, that would be something I would definitely be keen on. Just gives you a different option with a switch or a long pass. It's just something different to have. Okay, so if we look at his playing time, so for 24-25 this season, he is in and around 2,300 minutes. So he could reach just so short of 3,000 minutes with the games that are left. Okay, he's made 26 starts. There's ample time. There's some opportunities there to make it's the same as last season, if not more. Okay, and last season he clocked in at 2.6. So he's been increasing those minutes as he's gone forward. He's also got a 2.8 in there in 2021, but that was in Buddy 2, the third league, which is the Bayern Munich. I think I'll back up to him. So he certainly has started to get the pedigree to play in those minutes, which is what you need for a Liverpool player to have. Just going to look if there's anything else to pick out. No. So we then look at some of his other metrics. Looking at the bottom now, this is where I'm slightly disappointed. If he's pitched as being, DM sort of a 8/6 a game,
Yeah.
It's not as good as the previous lad. He's got a 61 percentile for clearances, which isn't really what you want. You need one of these three: the blocks, interceptions, or tackles to be fully in the green in the 70th percentile or above. And they're just not. To be frank with you, they're 24 percentile for tackles. Okay, interceptions 34 percentile, and blocks 53. So off the ball, something to think about. Aerials 35. If we just go down to his miscellaneous, which will be down here. So he's at 43% for aerials 1. Last season he was in 100. That's a 50 percentile. So yeah, I think he's got apart from home, he was at 62 percentile. So he's got potential. This season seems to have dropped off that area. So that's something to consider. If you look at what he's doing in between the boxes, again, like the previous lad, doesn't receive a lot of progressive passes, doesn't touch it in the attacking box, doesn't take people on. That's fine. Right. We're okay with that if he adds in that passing. And here he does. 97% of progressive passes. That's brilliant. That's a 6.
Wow.
That's delivering those balls forward progressively into the front players. 79th percentile pass completion at 88%. That's banging. That's above where we would expect. Yeah. 97th percentile for passes attempted. So he's got the volume as well. So with Larsson, he had the accuracy, but hadn't got the volume. Here he's got the volume. So he's clearly on the ball, happy to keep playing that ball forward and equally just keeping it ticking over. What does he do in the box? As we said, he doesn't get in there. So he doesn't get a lot of goals. Doesn't take a lot of shots. But assist-wise, 87th percentile. Non-penalty XG plus assists is at 83rd percentile. So shot creating actions, the majority of that is going to be assists, 89th percentile. So that's pretty good. I was that's a pretty good profile. Bar the actual defensive box, you're like, okay, not too good. So yeah, there are some things to like about him. If we compare him as we did before, would be fair. So we'll compare him to Ryan and to match up. So different, I think is fair to say.
Yeah.
Takes more touches than Ryan. Generates more opportunities for his players in terms of passes, creation, and the rest of it. Defensively, Ryan does outperform him on blocks, tackles, and aerials and dribbles. So defensively, he's slightly stronger, but considerably stronger. So over 2 bandwidths of percentile.
Yeah.
Whereas still his clearances is better. But yeah, so there are some things that are useful to know. In terms of Mac, though, he's probably closer to Mac's profile than he is to Ryan, to be honest. Mac's better in terms of some of the defensive actions, which we've identified as being poor for Stella. But in terms of attacking wise, that's pretty much bang on. You've got to apply the bully tax. Fine, you've got to apply that. But yeah, there is definitely some things to like about this lad. What is he? 23.
23.
So that's a pretty good profile time for 23. Where's he appeared here? So he's in and around, a little bit more advanced than our players are, but in a box formation, creating triangles to the left and right. Okay, that's okay. That's fine. How much is he on the ball? So he's on the ball pretty much every minute, taking a touch or a pass every minute. So that's, again, a good indicator if he is a focal point of their midfield. The fulcrum, if you want to get a posh word. He's involved in medium chains as well as the low and very low. Okay, good. Likes to get over, but not also happy to have a couple of possession chains as well. And what does he do in terms of zone 14 and half spaces? Not as high volume as Stiller, but as the previous lad, but he still creates some opportunities in those in the game. So there are some things I like for him on the ball. If we look at his threat, what did he stop? So he stopped. Completely lost where he is now. I'll find him in a minute. He stopped a fairly good level of where he's at. We look at the areas in which he would have been defending. low amount, so some good threat, but not the high levels we'd expect. But style of play probably comes into it a little bit, maybe. Defensively, a 6 and 8. That's sort of 10% of the defensive actions in his kind of zone. So not as high, but then they could have a defensive setup here to the right back. So yeah, some of that is interesting. XG, I don't think it wasn't involved in this game in XG, that was shots on. So yeah, there are some definite things to like about him. Really high pass rate. So it looks like a possession-based midfielder with great opportunities. It might be off the ball that it's just slightly not we would need to look at. If we look at where he is, down here somewhere. I've just lost my. There he is. So I'm just looking straight at him, going, where is he on this list? Right. So speed 30. So he's not rapid. He's not slow, but he's not like. We've had a 34 or a 36 recently on the show. He's quick, but he's not like, not like, that's decent speed. Distance 288 for 26, so he's got more miles in a clock than Larsson, and about the same amount of intense runs. So, yeah, some interesting things, and I think he's just bang on 6 foot, so he's a little bit taller, which should mean his aerial ability should be higher. As we go forward. So I would say probably a notch up on the profile versus Larsson, maybe. I think he's only 3 years older. So yeah, I think there's certainly some on-ball stuff there. There's a lot to like about that. It's just, again, some of the off-ball stuff that you'd have to look a bit more detailed and see what the stats the club have got on that.
It's an interesting one with Stiller because, like you said, the on the ball and the passes attempted, 97th percentile, completion high up, progressive. I mean, all the signs, and from the few games I've seen him as well, clearly, despite playing in that deeper role, it's a deep lying playmaker rather than breaking up play. He's not got pace. It's about dictating the play from deep. That's his game, and you can see that does translate in what he creates a bit as well. I suppose the big question is, Bart, because we'll talk about his fee. He has a release clause that comes in 2026. So it doesn't come in until the year after. The release clause, and we know Stuttgart, because we dealt with them for Endo, of course, is 36.5 million euros, which if you swap them at Tesco, is around the 30 million mark. So suggestions are they'd be happy to do a deal this summer to get a little bit of a premium, somewhere around sort of 35 million, around that mark. There's a lot to like on the ball. There is concerns off the ball. Anyone who says anything different is lying. We spelled that out as clear as day. Do the concerns off the ball in the most physical league in the world probably negate it for that price? Or do you think there's better value in the likes of what we've seen so far?
I mean, that's a good price. Sorry, I'm just looking again. That's a good price for a 23-year-old German midfielder.
Yeah.
77 kg is probably a bit light for a 6-footer. Probably would have been near 80, perhaps. But no, that might be worth more of a risk than the previous lad.
Yeah.
I have to be honest. Because there's a lot to do. He's not slow. He's not rapid. He's got the miles. He's got proven track record of doing the minutes. As in, he just had to nudge that up a bit more, and he could easily do the minutes we'd require. Passing wise, he'd come in and offer us something different from deep. Because Mac does that, but it's not. Mac does a lot of other stuff as well. Mac's brilliant, by the way. Please don't knock me on that, but it's just a different option. You got Grab who carries it, and this guy can do the passing of it. So there is a lot to like there. I could certainly see the club to have a look at that seriously for that price, definitely. Or even saying that we'll get him in January 26 where the release laws come. I don't know. But, I don't know how these things work. But, that £30 million difference and I think he probably slightly better than Larsson. I think that tips it. If you're going to make a move between these two, I'd say Stella probably gets the nudge for me. I think his profile's slightly better on the ball. I think off the ball, he's not as bad as Larsson's. He's taller. He could do with maybe getting a bit more get to the Premier League when he comes over here, but we could do that as well. And his physical stats, he's not as quick, but he's not slow. But he's on the ball, he's far superior to Larsson. So yeah, and for half the price, that could be a really good deal. Could be a good deal.
An interesting one to consider, one to watch for the summer as well, ladies and gents. Starring for Germany now as well, getting a few games there, so his profile will continue to rise. And the final one of these, Bart, I'm not going to get you to pronounce his full name, but Konstantinos Koulierakis was how it's pronounced the other night. So we'll just say Konstantinos to keep it easier for you. This is going to sound bad, people. I don't want to spend as long on this guy because our information is that this is a left-footed centre-half. He was actually who Wolfsburg picked to replace Mickey van der Ven, a player that nearly ended up at Liverpool, but Schmadtke shut it down that regard, didn't press the button on that one. However, all the information we've got on this, Bart, is that it's an if a Joe Gomez goes, it's more like a third choice centre-half. It's not one that we can say like when we were saying Schlotterbeck was coming in to possibly in case VVD goes out to look at those. Yes, it's left-sided, but it's more a question is, could this boy at the right price be a good third choice centre-half? So it's probably in those parameters. So we're not going to spend as long on this one.
No worries. I mean, playing time, just for the season, he's at 1,900. So he's made 24 starts. We know there's been about 26 games. So that's a good level of minutes, even before he moved. So he moved, he started in the Superliga, but he didn't actually, there's no minutes recorded there, which might be because the Greek stats aren't that great. But anyway, if you look at his last full season in Greece, he did 1,800, and in the season before that, he did just over 2,000. So again, a pedigree, probably fair to say, in and around 2,500 minutes a season. That's not bad. That's that. If he's coming in as a third choice, it's probably what you want, probably what you need. I probably used to play in 1 game a week, which again, for a third choice rotation, that's bang in the wheelhouse for him. I'll just scroll down here. I was going to look at his aerials at 60. Now, as I said, the Greek stats are not there, so I don't know whether that's an up or a down. That could be a peak, or it could be he's come down a bit. But 60, I mean, remember Joe Gomez is mid-60s. So it's a little bit down, but it's not miles. You know what I mean? It's not like miles away, but it still could be important at certain elements. And if we look at the usual, breaking it down though, defensively, so clearances. Who's he play for? He plays for Wolfsburg. Is this Wolfsburg? It is Wolfsburg, isn't it? Yeah. So they're not a hugely dominant side, so he probably will have to do a lot of defending, those kind of scrappy stuff. So clearances make sense on that, less so the tackles and interceptions. Aerials at 54%, so I will say that one more time, that is a bit of a concern. But for a centre half. But so they're okay defensive metrics, but they're not they're not amazing. If we look at what he does in between the boxes, for a centre half, he's 70% percentile for touches in the attacking box. So it clearly goes after all the set pieces, all corners, a whole lot. Progressive passes received, okay, for centre half, he's 69. A bit like it was a previous lap we did, wasn't it, in Germany?
Lots of back,
likes to go a bit of a wander and like receive the ball and stuff. So it's clearly something about these guys who want to get in there. In terms of passing though, 83%, received, which isn't too bad. That's 23rd percentile for centre halves.
Low, yeah.
Now you might think, what's your problem? But the reason is, I thought centre halves received the ball under no pressure. So the easy ball is fullback 6.
Yeah.
My mate next to me. There shouldn't really be an issue with hitting a higher completion rate. That would be a little bit of a flag. But he only attempts 58 percentile. So he could also be the non-dominant passer of the football. So if you roll your mind back to when Canate wasn't great, was average on the ball, teams used to let him have the ball, right? And he at times would give it away or try something that was unorthodox. This guy with that kind of volume could be that kind of profile. Like, could be, all right? I mean, he might be completely good. It just could be opportunity because he's not dominating as kind of thing. Attacking wise, doesn't get a lot of goals. Takes a lot of shots for a centre half, though. So that's again, he spends a lot of time set pieces and corners in the box. And shot creating actions, he creates from either a knockdown or a header. So that's pretty good percentile. So there are some things I like. I could compare him. Did you say? I don't know. I've still got Joe Gomez up here. No, I haven't. Doesn't matter.
Tough, isn't it? Thinking Gomez or Quansah comparison almost, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's hard. If you look at what he does, I mean, he's receiving the ball, so he's left side, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he has got the triangle there is with his goalkeeper and his other centre half partner, and then he goes into his left back. Other than that, it's not a lot. It's not a great deal going on anywhere else. I mean, that's his six there, 32, and there's no line there. If you look at taking that on a bit up to first, obviously he's made a few more passes in there, but generally still into his goalkeeper, into his centre half mate, and his left back mate. That's the level of what he's doing on the ball. Yeah. Whereas if you watch the BVD pass network, he's there, he's down there, he's expansive in terms of what he does with the ball. So yeah, there's the differences on there. And also BVD, you would expect to be on the ball pretty much every minute, every 30 seconds. This guy is not. His first 30 minutes is on it, but then after that it's patchy. So involved in the low passing chains and made progressive passes down the wing, but that's about it. In terms of defensive actions, you'd hope that he would be involved in some, but it's not. There is some high. It's actually more on the right side. So his mate, his defensive partner's got more defensive actions than he has, which is interesting. But some of that could be the way that the opposition attacks. So I wasn't too about that. What's he done in terms of defensively? So he stopped 82% of the threat coming at him. Which is actually the best defending defender on that team. So that's something to think about. And in terms of threat creation, wasn't involved in a great deal of threat creation. So yeah, there is some overall, from my bits and from F3, there are some bits to like, but some also little red flags that you would need to be aware of. Where is he? So top speed, 32. So he's quicker than the last stat we looked at who played a midfield. That's good. Distance covered, same amount as Larsson, and Larsson played midfield, who should be doing more distance.
Yeah.
Intensive runs, a notch down, but again, it's playing an hour, but that's still a good number to have. It sprints 264, so that's about 10 a game in 26 starts. So yeah, there's some. They've got him at 59 percentile aerials as well. So yeah, there's some interesting bits in there. He's not slow. He's a little bit quicker than some of their other players. A raw is that fair?
Yeah.
So just to be knocked off. As a third choice, it might work. The aerials is always going to be a problem, and the on ball, I'm hoping that's just a. Yeah, I mean, he's got the right passing level, but it's just, can he actually do it with more opportunity? If we give him the ball more, is he suddenly going to turn into an amazing passer, or is that just his level?
Yeah. Is it, for this, Bart, to bring it together, is it fair to say, because the rumoured price, and he's quoted as one of the stars of the Wolfsburg team for his age as well, he's left-footed, so that will go into the mix. But for the 33 million quid, it's fair to say that when you stack up their profiles, Gomez and Quansah are better. They've got better aerial duels. They're better on the ball. There's nothing that really you can say warrants. There's some stuff that's okay, but there's nothing that warrants spending 33 million on this kid, is there?
No, I haven't looked up his defensive, his injury record, sorry, but he's made 26 starts, so therefore I would suggest he's not had an injury problem. That would be the only thing you would think of in terms of something that tips it over Gomez.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, is that if Gomez wants to leave, Gomez leaves, right? And he probably brings in, what, £40 million?
Yeah, you'd hope.
Right. That's not a bad player to bring in for, say, and then you bank 5 million from the Gomez now, and you have the third. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is he going to push Koulierakis and Van Dijk? No. Is he going to be a serviceable centre half that doesn't get injured? Probably. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those. Is he better than our current fourth choice centre half, which is Endo? And I would say probably yes, he is. So yeah, I think it's about value you attach to that. Clearly, we've had a series of managers who haven't valued a decent fourth choice centre half. And at various points during their 10 years as managers, that has come by to bite them a little bit. You know, remember defending champions, and we lost all of our centre halves in one go because we didn't sign centre half. Right, see, and then we ruined bad because we had to play centre half. So it's just how much value you associate with that. If 30 million, you think actually that's probably worth boxing it off. Cool. Is he going to push your current first choice players? No. But yeah.
It's a weird one, isn't it? The B, we've looked at a few centre halves already. We'd probably even rather like Hato was bought and played there as cover, etc. It's a real struggle. So we don't want to lie on that one, people. But if Koulierakis is right up the list, there'd be a little concern. And if we bring it together, Stiller on the ball, there's a lot to like, especially good. Maybe at that price tag could be as well. Off the ball is a concern. Larsson is that decent all-rounder. He's 20 years old, young, potential, a lot to like. But for the reported 60 million, it just feels a bit too rich for our blood. So there we go, ladies and gents. The latest three on the docket. You can make your own conclusions with those three. All it leaves me to say, Ever Barts, is for the time, the insight and the analysis on all those three, it's much appreciated.
No worries, anytime.
And ladies and gents, that was another Transfer Market Metric.